All righty. Good evening, everybody. Please bear with me. I'm just going to change a couple of settings here. But good evening, everyone, and welcome to another community live call. Just getting the settings right here for the view here. For some reason, our support logo is coming up for the speaker support. Not sure if you're able to change that by any chance by going into the hosting. But anyway, welcome to the call, everyone. I'm going to let a few more people tune in. Very, very important issue we're going to be discussing tonight, which is the senseless slaughter of these beautiful horses in the Kosciuszko National Park, the Brumbies. They're an iconic horse. They're part of our heritage. And there is just so much government bureaucracy and blatant animal cruelty going on down there right now. This has been going on for a long time. And for any true blue patriotic Australian, we know that these are the horses and the bloodlines of the horses that carried our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers into cavalry charges and the First and Second World War, the cavalry charge at Beersheba. Incredibly iconic horse. And for those of you who are aware, obviously, of the larger agenda, this whole Marxist and communist agenda that's kind of sweeping the world is looking for I guess what they call cancel culture. So they infiltrate countries and they try and destroy the heritage of that country. And it's hard to think of anything more important to Australian history than the Brumby, anything more iconic, quite incredible. So please tune in tonight, folks. It's a really important cause. I think what I love about this, I guess this cause is that it unites so many people, whether you're on the left side of politics or the right or somewhere in between, whether you're gay, straight, old, young, rich or poor. I think fundamentally, as decent human beings, we're all opposed to animal cruelty. And this is some of the most hideous animal cruelty that we've ever seen anywhere in the world. It's just ghastly what they're doing. And so we've got two very, very special guests here tonight who put their time aside to shed some light on this issue and give us all a very important update. The first of those, she doesn't really like being here on the camera. If she looks a little bit awkward and uncomfortable, please understand why. Her name is Claire Galea, and she's an independent biostatistician who is basically exposing the fraudulent numbers that GovCo are claiming to have. So Claire, very big welcome to the call. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Dave. Thanks for your time for tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Your work is incredibly important in exposing what's going on and I guess sharing the data, the absolute bona fide truth of what's happening here. So thank you so much. And we have another very well-known man of the Kosciuszko region down there. He's a butcher, he's a builder, he's a mountain man, he's also a poet, but he's, I guess, a very avid and lifelong horse lover. His name is Rocky Harvey. Rocky, welcome to the call.
Yeah, thanks heaps, Dave. Thanks for hosting us.
Yeah, look, Rocky, I'm just going to I don't know you that well yet. This call's been pulled together pretty quickly. This whole situation is incredibly time sensitive because if this doesn't get stopped, it's my understanding that these horses are going to be eradicated forever. So, Rocky, if you can give us a bit of a sense of your role in this fight to protect and save the Brumbies, how long you've been involved, and just bring us up to speed, up to date where we are current day, Rocky.
Yeah, so look, I haven't been involved in it for a hell of a long time. I first got involved when there was a mass mortality event out in Snowy Plain, which is part of the Kosciuszko National Park. And I was just astounded by the parks just leaving such a huge number of carcasses in such a confined area, right next to crystal clear creeks that, I would routinely drink from. And I suppose after that initial involvement, I started looking at the numbers. I've never been involved in the numbers before, started looking at the numbers, and got in contact with Claire and said, like, we need to do something about this. We need to do an independent count that's can really verify this data because there's such big holes in it.
And we've seen this, everything that comes through GovCo seems to have big holes, whether it be the so-called stats that came out regarding the whole COVID thing, or whether it be, wildlife or Brumbies in this case as well. I think there's a massive loss of confidence and transparency and authenticity in the government. if you can give us an idea, I guess, first of all, what's the official government story as to why they have to slaughter all of these beautiful horses?
Look, geez, I don't know whether I'm the right one to answer that in full, but I suppose National Parks agenda, I think they would way prefer to have no horses whatsoever in the national park. There's a legislation in place that says they need to retain 3,000 horses in the park for their heritage value. I think that came into effect in 2018. You know, and we're concerned that they're using incorrect numbers to run an agenda of, you know, potentially reducing the number way below that, you know, by relying on incorrect data.
And why do you think, I have my own suspicions around this, but as someone who lives in the region and who's a passionate horse lover, why do you think they're so determined to exaggerate the numbers so that they can then go out and say, right, we have to eradicate this many, which would lead to the complete eradication of them all? Why do you think they may want to eradicate all of the Brumbies from the national park? What's the reason?
Oh, look, you know, I suppose there's a big green push, you know, and the Greens tied up with the Labor government at the moment.
But if I can jump in there for a second, like we think about Greens wanting to protect wildlife, wanting to protect things. This is horses being pumped with as many as 15 bullets from the air into the gut, dying a slow, horrible death. They're decomposing carcasses, then infecting the water with all sorts of things. Like, why do you think it's so barbaric?
I'm at a bit of a loss on that one, mate.
It's just staggering, you know.
It is staggering, and how they can leave them. You know, if a farmer left 60 cows in his paddock, he would be crucified by, you know, pollution control. Yet national parks do exactly the same thing just over his boundary or her boundary, and they say it's returning nutrients to the environment. You know, it's just absurd. You know, how they could be. You know, I just don't understand how it works.
And you know, we're all baffled. We're constantly baffled by what this government is able to push and what they're able to get away with. And I'm really hoping that we can get more and more eyes on this. If I can bounce over to you, Claire, and just if you can give us a bit of a, I guess, understanding of what your perhaps estimates of the Brumbies may be at this stage, if you can say that, versus, you know, what's Penny Sharp saying from, I think, what's she called, the New South Wales Minister for the Environment. What's Penny Sharp saying of the numbers? And do you have an estimate of numbers that you may feel are there at present? Claire.
Sure. Thanks, Dave. Look, am I coming across okay? Because I've got an internet connection.
Loud and clear.
Okay, cool.
Nice and clear.
Look, they're saying there's anywhere up, you know, the 23,500 is the number that keeps getting thrown around, that there's up to 23,500 horses in the park.
It's a lot of horses.
It's a lot of horses, you know, which can equate to around 18 horses per square kilometre. If you do a bit of a breakdown of the data, it's just impossible.
You're saying, so that's 18 horses per square kilometre. So basically, if you flew over Kosciuszko National Park, you'd see horses everywhere.
In the open plains, yeah, they'd be absolutely everywhere. They'd be tripping over each other and there'd be no grass if that's the amount of numbers that are there. I can't make an estimate, and this is something that I keep saying. When they've done their data collection, they didn't see enough horses to undertake any reliable modelling. So therefore, they should be reporting the raw data. How many horses did they actually see? But they won't give us the data. We're pushing again. We're going again through government to try and get the raw data, but they just won't release it.
So this is not, from what I'm gathering, this is not just slightly exaggerated. It's wildly exaggerated.
Yeah, exactly. So the example that I think we talked about last time, they need to see a minimum of 60 to 80 clusters of horses to do any modelling. They're seeing 10 clusters, not even close to 60, nowhere near enough horses to undertake the modelling. So we can't rely on anything they produce. And
so the mission, I understand right now, is to get independent biodata and independent headcount, correct?
Yeah, an independent count that's completely separate of humans, national parks, of all of us, to contract an external company to undertake using the best advanced technology that we can to do this, so that we're left with evidence that is just irrefutable to anybody.
And so what happens in that case? So GovCo has come out with this number, 23,500. Okay, well, there's so many horses, we're going to start shooting them from the sky. Talk me through what you would like to see happen. We get the independent count, and then take us through from there what would be an ideal case scenario to get this actually stopped.
Yeah, look, absolutely. So the independent count that that we've proposed will produce a mosaic image of the entire survey area, so which people will be able to download and access, and it will show where every single horse was seen across the entire survey area. No one can argue that we're making this public. The imagery that the government won't provide, they have no evidence of their counts. We're doing the exact opposite. Everything will be transparent. The raw data will be provided and presented to media everywhere that we can to get this out there and show them this map that actually this is what is there. And
not a good look for them when this number comes out versus the 23,500, because from what I'm hearing on the ground from locals like Rocky, we'll come back to you shortly, Rocky, is that it's such a small number already that they're hard to find at this stage versus 23,500.
Yeah, that's correct. But I think also what we're looking to do is try and remove humans from the equation as well. So if you think about, there's 2 observers in the helicopter with national parks. They're flying at 60 odd meters above, and they're looking 150 meters out from the helicopter. We're going to have imagery of the entire area. So not just what a human can see 150 meters from the plane. And remember, and they only claim to see 57% of the horses anyway. That's their probability of detection. So even at 60 odd meters above the sky, they're still missing 43%. So we plan to come with this, with the complete imagery, so that nothing is missed.
If I can ask you a little bit of a personal question, Claire, why is this such an important issue for you? Why have you gotten involved with this? Why is this close to your heart?
Okay, I actually didn't get involved in it from a horse perspective. I started from kangaroos. I'm a firm believer that if we have an ability to do something to give back to the planet, then I think we should. So each Christmas holiday break, I try and do something statistically to help the planet. And I was asked 4 years ago to look at some kangaroo data. And I thought, oh, okay, I don't know much about kangaroos. Have a look, and it was absolutely appalling. Populations decreasing by 99%, and the blatant lies, blatant mistakes. It was absolutely frightening. And I'm like, what? We're killing 2 million a year for soccer boots? Hang on. I thought there was plague, and there wasn't. And looking at the data there, there's an area the size of Tasmania that had 450,000 kangaroos. And if by the end of 2020, the quota had been reached, they would have left 77. So, and then I went after the person who does the methodology, went into a kangaroo inquiry, and he quoted that his work was peer reviewed for the horses. So then I'm like, hang on a minute. So then I went down this rabbit warren path to find out, and it was never independently peer reviewed, his wild horse work. So then I started pulling apart the reports he'd done for the horse. I got the work from University of St Andrews, who designed the software, who absolutely critiqued Cairns's work. They said the methodology is not appropriate. They said they shouldn't be making estimates across the area. They don't survey. They absolutely smashed it. I couldn't believe it. That was everything I was looking for the kangaroos. So yeah, I came across this from a different direction.
Well, look, on behalf of everyone, I've just had to turn off the comments because we get all sorts of weirdos come in here. But there was a lot of people just thanking you there, Claire, for everything that you've done. Like, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for helping in this fight, because it's a big deal. And I'm now getting upset about the kangaroos. That's a whole other conversation, but you just dropped some huge bombs there regarding 99% of these animals being wiped out as well by GovCo.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I was more giving my story of how I got here. Sorry.
Oh, it's just incredible. And none of this surprises us. We're just seeing this agenda roll on and on. Thank you so much, Claire. Rocky, if I can bounce back to yourself. So give us a bit of a picture of what's happening now. I believe there's been the fundraiser. Give us an update on that if you can.
Yep, so we've been running a fundraiser probably a bit more than a couple of weeks now, and raised about 75,000. And so, which is, we were pretty happy with. We certainly could use more funds. Ultimately, whatever funds we raise, we are spending on our survey. And so if we raise more funds, we'll simply survey a larger area. so yeah, we've been working with a team who are really experienced in data capture and artificial intelligence counting, not specifically with horses and animals, but also with vegetation and stuff like that. And they're really keen on the project, and yeah, we've been bouncing stuff back and forth from them. We've asked the funds, so we were holding the funds in our GoFundMe account until we reached our target, because we wanted to make sure that we could afford to do what we were aiming to, and for transparency, we've asked now that they get transferred across to a trust account that we've been allowed to use on, so that it's sort of is transparent. And so yeah, we're on the verge of just finalizing contract details, and hopefully weather dependent, putting planes up in the air, or a plane up in the air with cameras.
Yeah, mate, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I guess give us a sense of what's happening at the moment, because last time we caught up with some of the people, the activists down there, it was my understanding the shooting has already begun. The culling has begun. There's been a lot of horses killed lately. Can you give us an update on that? And if you could also, one thing that blows my mind, Rocky, is even if there was a need to kill these horses, why couldn't they just be given a tranquilizer and then it done humanely? Like this idea of low caliber rifle from the air, up to 15 bullets to drop a horse, it's just absolute animal cruelty. All the statistics aside, it's blatant animal cruelty. So I know this is a bit of a long sort of question, but what's happening at the moment as far as the cull goes?
Look, national parks play it pretty tight, and so they ran a trial heli shooting event, I think in November. Reported those results with the RSPCA backing them, saying it was a humane way of doing it, which is
sorry, hold on. You just said the RSPCA said it's a humane way.
This is astounding, Dave, because like I know horses, and the first thing they're going to do when they see a helicopter is to run from it. So the chase would begin at a point, and then they would start shooting at the first horse. And so I don't think they've really reported. I have read the results of the report, but essentially, I don't think they've focused on the whole mission, as in if they approach a group of horses, whether it's 10 or 20, their aim is to kill the whole group of horses. They start chasing the first one, shoot the first one. They did report that it was an average of 7.5 shots per horse, with up to 15. And so I just can't fathom how anybody can say it's humane to chase a group of horses, gun them down one by one. The whole event, I don't know, with 10 or 20 horses, how many minutes that runs for. But I can't see anybody rationally arguing that that's humane. At best, if it was humane for the very first horse, and even then, I think that's really not feasible. But for the rest of them, I can't understand how you could claim that.
No, absolutely not. And one thing I really got, and if you could, I guess, elaborate on this a little bit, but I've never been in the presence of Brumbies, and people tell me that these creatures are they're almost like they have a magical presence about them. There's something very special about the Brumbies. I'm guessing that's been your experience as well, Rocky, over the years, and probably why you're so passionate about them.
Look, all horses are special, and Brumbies are horses, and so if you hang out with horses a lot and then you go hang out with horses in the wild, of course they've got a different place, and people, there's people arguing that they're no difference to a pig or a fox or whatever. They simply are. They've been entwined in human life for thousands of years, and they've got a different place. It's just that simple. They deserve a different level of respect, I think.
100%, especially the role that they've played in our heritage and our history. I couldn't agree with you more. Give us a sense, Rocky, of what you would like to see happen here, right? So we've got this obviously Claire's told us about the numbers and you understand that the numbers are completely exaggerated. Talk us through what would you'd like to see over the short term, because I understand this is pretty time sensitive as well. They are going to start shooting again or ramp up the shooting. What's the ideal case scenario? The head count comes out, it gets presented to Parliament, and then what happens? Or give us a picture of what that may look like ideally for you.
Yeah, so look, national parks do play it tight, so I think it's a bit vague on what they're planning as far as future culls. I don't think they I think they deliberately don't release that information too far in advance. But certainly our aim is to get our count done, get our data work done, the reports done, peer reviewed, get that into the public arena, look, for Claire and I think our ideal is to get the government to adopt a better method of counting. What they're using at the moment is just ludicrous. And so, and this is not just for horses, this technology has application for other animals, kangaroos, koalas, whatever, this is all developing technology. It's going to improve. And it's about, and getting the government to be more accountable. We've been requesting the raw data from their counting methods so that we can really see where did they count how many horses, in what valley, so that we can directly compare it with our results. How transparent our results are going to be. Airborne Logic, our partner in the project, they're going to upload the imagery, so a big mosaic of the whole area that we photograph and survey. They're going to upload it into a portal, and so anybody can log in. It's going to be complete public access. And so once they've done their data work and machine counted the horses, they're going to include a layer, like an overlayer, on that imagery that identifies where they counted a horse. And so anybody can zoom in to where they counted a horse and then look at the image and go, oh yeah, that's a horse.
Rocky,
clarity.
You said the government needs better methodology. Get that, but I think we all understand that the government's, they've got another agenda here, and they're deliberately fudging the numbers, it would appear, and I just don't understand. I'm trying to get a sense of what do you think is the real agenda here? Obviously, they're not releasing the data. They're not being transparent. They're trying to pretty much eradicate these beautiful horses forever. Why do you think they actually want to do that? What's the deeper motive?
I don't know the answer to that, Dave. I do know that they would quite gladly not have the legislation in place that retains 3,000, and that they would work towards eradicating them. And so I think this is their next best option, is to, if we say there's, 17,000 or 23,000, well, we can massacre 10,000 without even having to, do a recount. But if the true number is already way less than that, then you could end up in a situation where there's virtually not a sustainable population of them in contravention of the legislation.
As a man who spends a lot of time in the Kosciuszko National Park, Rocky, do you personally feel that the Brumbies have any environmental impact that's negative?
Look, everybody has an environmental impact. Every person that goes into the park, me on my horse when I ride through the park. But I can certainly say that it's just incredibly exaggerated, the impact that they try and put on horses. You can see these isolated photos of a few hoof prints in a creek crossing, but I can guarantee that 9/10 of the time there won't be another single crossing in that creek for kilometers in each direction, because the horses choose to cross a creek where it's got a sound base in it. They hate bogs, and so all this talk about them destroying bogs and stuff, horses absolutely hate bogs, and they avoid them like the plague.
Just mind-blowing what's going on. We're going to start to wrap up the call over the next 5 minutes, guys. Claire, if I can bounce back to you, if you can give us I guess a bit of a feeling of what's happening down there in the community, if you've had any contact with people in the community, in the region, how they're feeling about the situation on the ground right now. Anything you've got to, or you can shed light on as far as that goes?
I tend to not interact with a lot of people, sorry.
That's all
In
right.
that
Stick to
sense,
the numbers.
yeah, I do, sorry. And I've
Mhm.
been responding to a lot of documents that have come out from the inquiry. So like weeks and weeks of work responding to that in terms of contradicting, saying, oh, the numbers are valid, etc. And yeah, so I've been working on that mainly and working with the recount and coordinating with the team over the recount, which is, as you can imagine, a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
Can I ask a
need to
question?
pass that question. Yeah, sorry.
Can I ask a question of you, Claire? If you don't mind.
Yeah, please do.
It's Lynn.
Hey,
Hey.
Lynn.
Hi, how you going?
Good to see
Dave
you.
and everybody. I'm just wondering, Claire, what do you think would be the best form of counting thermal, or what is your ideal scenario? And I would imagine that it would follow very closely, as much as possible, to the flight paths of the government's count to compare apples with apples. Do you agree with that, or have you got other thoughts on that, Claire? What do you feel would be best from a statistical point of view to be able to throw it in the face of the government, basically?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, are we talking money, no object in this question? So if I had all the money in the world, which would probably be about $2 million we'd need, I think there would be a different prong of tax. So firstly, definitely the way we're going with the imagery that we'll be obtaining that does a complete map using machine learning. Firstly, that method removes all human error. And human error in counting, and the human error in the modeling, the human error in the failed assumptions. We get rid of all that crap, and the machine learning will produce that count estimate. That's the first way that we definitely need to go. That is affordable.
What's the price tag on that, roughly?
You know, and then if we rate, sorry.
What would the price tag on that be as a ballpark figure?
Well, the GoFundMe was set at around at $75,000 to undertake
Based on that.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, based on that, what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah.
And what
so
about the flight path?
Yep. So that would be the first option, so that we can, because we need to remove statistically the modeling that they've been doing. And this is the way that we go about it, so that we can develop a machine learned model which identifies horses. Then if I had all the money in the world, I would flight path the entire national park, run that through the machine learning model, and then we would have this perfect mosaic which identifies every single horse in the park. So money, no object, that would be the first option, and that's what we would do first. Second, yes, I definitely, you know, if we had another $35,000 to $40,000 after we've mosaiced the whole park, we could replicate the National Parks and Wildlife headcount, fly their exact same path and do that. But that would need to be done over 2 days, adding in what's called mark and recite capture. Now, I myself, Joanne, Alan Langham, we went into New South Wales Parliament. We argued black and blue for that, and the government rejected any motive of that and won't accept that whatsoever. So that's one reason why that going down that path, although yes, it would be another validation, etc., getting that onto government floor, they won't listen. Other parties have gone down and done that. Other parliamentary people have been down there and done that, and they just won't listen. The evidence that's going to come out of this count will be photographic. Here it is a mosaic of the whole area. And then I guess third, again, if we had all the money in the world, then yeah, we would thermal image the park. But there's some challenges in doing thermal imaging, which we've been looking at over the last few months, working with with this flight crew that we've been talking to, and the machine learning guys who are amazing. It needs some work in terms of that area. And what we've come to the conclusion that RGB, so looking at normal color imagery would be the best way to go at the moment. If we can then replicate national parks with another 50 grand, great. If then we get another $100,000 or whatever, and we can do thermal imagery as well, that's great. But time is of the essence. We need to get up there, and we need imagery which shuts them up. This is how many horses, this is where they were, and here's the model, here's what to do. Let's now map the rest, and you can run the model. So what we're trying to produce is not just this one mosaic map and a total population count. This will be peer reviewed. It will be unique and absolutely verifiable, so that we can, after this first plane run that we can go up, if we raise more money, or I don't know, some famous person donates millions, we can go down and fly the whole thing and then just run that data through the model. It will be there, and then it can be done anywhere, for any, for any horse across the country. And then the model can be developed for kangaroos, for everything else. I mean, these plain guys have got experience already in this. So it's like, how can we best shut them up with evidence that can't be argued as quickly as possible, with a budget that seems huge but was achievable? There's so many things at play here, because we just don't have $2 million to do everything that needs to be. Does that
That's a
answer
perfect summary. Yes, that's a perfect summary at the end there, Claire. Thank you.
Makes sense.
And Claire, can I just say, you've got so much respect. Sorry, Rocky, I don't really know you, so hi. But Claire, I know that you've got a lot of respect with your expertise, and I know a lot of people jumped on board with you, and obviously Joanne Canning. You've both done so much work statistically, which people seem to listen to statistics rather than, I don't know, the truth, but statistics seem to back the truth up. I don't know why they seem to just like to look at numbers, but it works.
Yeah.
Thanks,
well,
Claire.
let's hope
So thank you. Yep, thank you very much.
Great question, Lynn. Thank you so much. We're going to start wrapping up the call because I do want to be mindful of everyone's time. Lynn, while we do have you, is there anything you wanted to briefly add before we wrap up?
Oh no, that's fine. I can see that Renee is going to speak, I think, is it?
I'm not sure.
I hope so.
Oh, hello, Renee. I wasn't told you were coming on.
Hi, Dave.
Renee,
Give
us a quick introduction
Claire,
on yourself. Please, just for our listeners, please let us know a little bit about yourself, and then by all means, go ahead.
Renee, I'm from Brumby Hay Angels that I co-admin with Kay Moore, and we've been actively pursuing better outcomes for Brumbies in Victoria and obviously in New South Wales as well. And we're certainly very keen here in Victoria, Claire and Rocky, to see what groundbreaking counts can come through to actually assist Brumbies in other areas apart from Kosciuszko. I mean, they're all very important. So from our perspective, fully support, fully want to see this be a success. And I guess just a question to you, Claire, in what resistance would you expect from this count from National Parks Wildlife Services, the ministers, or invasive species, and how best can we minimise that on this count?
Look, that's an excellent question. Thank you for that. And thank you also for your what you're doing for the Brumbies and your interests as well. And, we've also got people from Canada watching what we're doing. There's quite a lot of people who are interested in the potential for this unique verifiable project. I think what we're trying to do is, with the reporting and everything that will be coming out from this, everything will be transparent. So the raw data will be absolutely available for anybody and everybody to have a look at. How they can argue against a mosaic map, I'm sure they'll try, but this imagery will be done independent. So you've got to also remember that Rocky and I are facilitating this project. We will not be involved in any data collection, any analysis, any reporting whatsoever. And the peer review will also be separate academic peer reviews. So if they've got an agenda to come after myself or other people, which I've received documentation, which is, of that nature, this company is independent, and the evidence that will be there will be photographic imagery evidence through machine learning. It's no humans. Rocky, do you have anything to add to help me out here? Am I doing okay?
You're doing great. You there, Rocky?
I think she's doing great, mate.
I know that's awesome. If I could just sorry, go ahead, Renee. Please continue.
Yeah, I was just going to say, at the end of all this, Rocky and Claire, who actually owns the data that's going to be collected? Because I think that's really important to know too.
The data is going to be public.
Yeah, but who owns it? Do we know?
I know the answer to that question offhand, but it's certainly just going to be loaded on a public portal and available for anybody to view.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just wondered, what other agencies might be able to use this data, that's all.
Well, if it's public, it's public, I think.
Okay. Yep, that answers it.
Anybody can use the data, and I think that's the beauty of what we're doing, is that it's just so transparent. We're not trying to hide anything. It's on there on a public portal. You can jump on and look at it. You can do whatever. You can, if you've got enough time, you can scroll through and count every individual horse,
Okay. All right. Well, that answers it really well. Thank you.
Rocky, thanks so much, Renee. Rocky, just to get a feel of what's happening down there in the community. With the last, to give another example, when we saw the whole COVID thing roll out, we saw huge division amongst the community. Some people supported what the government was doing, other people were vehemently opposed. In the region down there in the Snowies, do you have an element of the community who's just like, no, the Brumbies have to go, let's kill them all at whatever cost? And then this other element that's like, please save the Brumbies. What is the feeling down there? Is it a 50-50 split, or do most of the people down there, the locals on the ground, do they want to save these beautiful horses?
I think the bulk of the locals who I associate with agree with saving them. But there is, there's definitely division on it. It's quite a divisive thing, and I think a lot of people in the cities who are sort of don't see any of it for themselves and are just fed the data, like there's this many and they're destroying everything, a tiny percentage of people actually get out there and see them, and they just, and this is where, somebody like me who spends a lot of time in the park can just see, like it's supposed to be 18.5 horses for every single square kilometre of open terrain in the park. I ride around, sure, I see horses, but, this is where I started, really started getting on the numbers thing. I'm just like, wow. I might ride and be able to see 5 or 10 square kilometres, in a certain length of ride and not see a single horse. And by that rationale, there's, 10 square kilometres, there's another 180 that I've got to see in, plus the other 180 that are already in the next 10 square kilometres, and it just...
it doesn't add up. So you're there, so I cut you off.
Oh, no, I said it just doesn't add up to me, like I just can't accept that the figures are right. And then when I looked at the maths behind the figures, and Claire helped me out a lot on that, and really got into the maths and the equations that they use, because the report they produce, I think, sort of, I don't know if it's deliberately presented to be more complicated than it needs to be, but, it takes a bit of really getting to the bottom of how they run these figures. And then when you do and you see all these potential errors in it, it's just astounding that they could be relying on, even their survey methods of, a stick out the side of a helicopter gauging the distance 150 meters away is just so primitive. Our aerial imaging, the area will be the area and it's measurable. It's all GPS based. It's just another level what we're doing.
It's just incredible, the destruction that this government causes, the lies that they perpetuate. It's staggering that this is going on, and the fact that they're doing it in such a cruel way. In my mind, it's an abomination. And the more you look at what this government does, it's as if they hate this country. It's as if they hate this country and everyone and everything in it. It just makes my blood boil. And I'm just so grateful we have people like you on the ground who are willing to, because all that stands between the eradication of these beautiful horses and this heritage is you guys, and whatever we can do to support you. I just can't thank you all enough. I've just got a message here from support come through that Di would like to quickly speak. Di, are you there? Di Hardley?
Yeah, I'm here. Just
Hey,
a quick question. Hi, Dave. A quick question for Claire. I know the answer to this one, but just for the people who are tuned in, roughly what percentage of the park are we going to cover with the count? And what are our chances of getting the data back in time for the inquiry on the 5th of September?
Rocky, can you come into this one as well, please? In terms of getting the data back by the 5th of February, we're very much bound by the weather. Yeah, that's a major problem. And I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I was expecting a long, hot summer. Today, my daughter was floating rubber ducks down the backyard with the floods. So the weather that the flight crew need, they are up and ready to, they're ready to go. They need certain conditions. If those conditions are not met, then so they look 10 days out and then they'll look 4 days out. If those conditions are met, they just literally cannot go up and fly, or it's a
Yeah, I
total
know
waste.
you explained all this to me, but I just wanted you to
So that's
explain
how
it to everyone.
our hands now are basically in the weather. If the weather can come out, and then from there, how long it will take to go through the data analysis. Rocky, can you answer that one, please?
The percentage.
So at the moment, the flight guys, the flight time is only a day or two, and so that's just timing with weather. The data guys are telling us about 6 weeks to do all the data crunching, reporting, and peer review. The percentage of the park, I can't answer offhand. And so, but what we are doing is surveying the open terrain, or a portion of the open terrain in the northern area of the park, which all of the reporting national parks have done. That is the majority of the horses in the national park. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think, something like 70% of all the horses in the national park reside in the open terrain of the north of the park, which
Northern end, yeah.
The northern end,
Yep.
which I think as a whole is only about 8% of the national park. Now we're only surveying a proportion of that area. As percentages, I don't know, but and there's a lot. It's very vague how they've defined what's open terrain in that area. I've done a bit of measuring, like you can easily jump on Google Earth or topographic maps, map out where the open plains are. I think we're sort of aiming to survey something like half of those open plains, which I think is a reasonable percentage. If we had
so that'd be about 35% of the 72% that they cover, roughly.
So I'm not following that maths, Di.
Well, you said that they cover 72%, and you said that you're going to cover half of that. Well, that's around, 35, 36%.
Sorry, what was the 72%?
Of what they cover, national parks, in their survey, like 72% at the northern end is where the majority of horses are.
No, sorry. No, that figure, about 70% of all the horses that exist in the whole of the national park live in the northern end of the park.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And so and quite a high proportion of those horses live in the open terrain of the northern part of the park. And so, we're aiming to, and ideally we would survey the entire open area. The reason we focused on the open area is for a couple of reasons. One is that it has the highest density, and that is, quite well accepted. But the other is that it has the highest success rate for us with imagery. Obviously, if you're trying to detect horses under trees with AI counting, it's going to be tricky.
It's not going to happen. Yeah, that's right.
Terrain, look, our guys are telling us that, a horse in open terrain with the imagery we're obtaining, they are going to stick out like the proverbial dogs, what.
Yeah. So if we just say, for instance, if we got the plane up next week, we had roughly around 6 weeks to that for all the data to be analysed and peer reviewed. So it's, even if we got it up next week, it's still another 6 weeks on top of that before we've got anything solid.
That's correct.
And in that 6 week period, are they going to still be culling horses from the air?
Dave, as I said to you, I don't know what their schedule is. They play it close to the chest. But, look, we have been approaching this as fast as we possibly could. Ideally, I would have preferred that we ran the fundraiser a little bit later so that we really had our contracts in place and our targets in place. We've run it a bit concurrently, to try and fast track this. We've got to get it happening.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said, Rocky. Michelle, I'm not sure who you are, Michelle, but Michelle's just been unmuted, and I've been told you're a very important player here in this fight. So, Michelle, welcome to the chat. Give us a very brief intro on who you are, and please share with us what your perspective is on all this.
Hey Dave, I'm Michelle from Michelle and Ian's Snowy Brumby Photography Adventures. We document the park. We have so over the last 8-9 years. We know the horses, and yeah. Hi Claire, hi Rocky, how are we? I just wanted to ask a quick question. With the AI, is it going to be difficult to count horses under the trees? Am I correct in saying that, or are they going to pick up the horses under the trees, you know, if they're in the tree lines?
We're not surveying treed areas, so we've deliberately chosen the open terrain. Like I said just before, that's twofold: highest density and also the easiest to train the software. We haven't really delved into how feasible it is to train the software to detect under trees. So no, I don't really know the answer to that, but we're definitely aiming to do that.
Okay, thanks, Rocky.
Dave, can I just take a minute to explain how the machine learning will actually work? Because it's so awesome in terms of, like we hear all the negative AI, this stuff is incredible to remove humans. So what they'll do is they get the machine to start to identify images or pixels that make up a horse. And so the AI will develop an image of what a horse is. And then what they do is once they've completed that model recognition of a horse, they then will map that over the area thousands and thousands of times. So this machine learning will just keep running and running and running nonstop, 24 hours a day. These machine learnings run, and to, true test over and over for false positives all the way through to find those horses. So the model that we're developing is what we want is going to be unique and completely verifiable on the open terrains. Once that's done and we've developed that model, and as we've got interest in Victoria, from Canada, everywhere, then we can start to go further and say, okay, well, what if we have more money, we can survey this, and then we can train the model again to keep going and just put the whole question to bed of how to count these horses. And that's the biggest picture that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, sorry, that sounds good, Claire. Thanks for that. But there was just one other question. Sorry, I don't want to take up too much time.
No, please go ahead. Thanks,
just with the inquiry, sorry, Di, you said September. Did you mean February for the inquiry to start back up again? Yes, February. I thought it was February. So, yeah, I was thinking we're going to be in a whole lot of trouble if we're waiting for September for the inquiry to start back up again. So,
the option that I also have, and Rocky and I are working on this along with Airborne Logic, our partners in this. I, as a witness, when I was called, I was also given the opportunity to submit anything and everything I want up until the midnight on the 23rd of September. So I've got to respond to supplementary questions and all the stuff coming in. But what we will be doing is tabling the proposed recount, update, funding, everything where we're at, what flight's gone up, everything that we can will be putting in, so that then that's tabled information within the inquiry. My experience from being a key witness in the kangaroo inquiry, it went for months afterwards and they came back again. So if it opens up again in February, then you get another 21 or 42 days to then respond. So the delay before the final report of the kangaroo inquiry was quite some time. So I'm really hoping that if the plane goes up soon and we have the 6 weeks response, then we can still get this tabled into that inquiry. That's what we can hope for.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Rocky, do you have anything? Was that okay?
I'm pretty good. I think we've pretty much covered everything, eh?
Yeah, look, yeah. If there's anyone out there who's got anything urgent just to add before we wrap up the call, we've definitely gone over time. It's been a fantastic chat, and we'll have this up on the website shortly. Did anyone, Renee, Di, or Rocky, or Claire, or Lynn, you want to add anything before we wrap up?
No, all good.
There's a quick question. It will be a fixed wing plane flying at approximately 3,500 feet, to answer that question on the screen. So there's no disturbing of the horses or anything.
All right, beautiful. Well, to wrap up the call, first of all, I just want to acknowledge everyone who's been listening here tonight. There's been over 60 people here on the call. And obviously you're here for a reason, here from these beautiful people. And if you are out there listening and this whole issue just makes your blood boil, the most powerful thing you can do is share the information, share the GoFundMe, share everything you possibly can. I think a lot of people underestimate the ripple effect of what they do. They think, oh, I don't have an audience, I don't have a big profile or a big platform. That's nonsense. That's what they want you to think. So please share everything you can, like, comment. We're in a war against these algorithms that try and shut these things down as part of this whole agenda. So thank you all for putting the time to listen to this call tonight. Thanks for your presence and your attention to listen to these beautiful people. And to our special guests, I'll start with you, Claire. Huge thank you. I know you don't like being in the spotlight or being in these chats, but your knowledge is profound. You're an absolute expert at what you do. It really shines through in the way you carry yourself with your knowledge. So thank you. We need people like you to provide the raw data. So massive respect and thank you for all your great work. Di, you're a national treasure. Thank you for all of your beautiful work there on the ground. I know how much you love these horses. So thank you so much, Di, for all of your incredible work. Michelle, thank you for coming in, briefly adding to what you did on the call tonight. I'm sure having that roll down there in the Snowies, obviously this is a huge part of your life and you're very passionate about the course. So thank you for everything you're doing down there. Lynn, we didn't see you long for tonight, but I know you're doing some great work. Sorry, Claire, you wanted to add something quickly?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody who's donated for the project. Thank you, everybody who's putting in time. Thank you for the people on the ground rescuing the Brumbies. Thank you for everybody behind everything. It's although we're talking about all the data and the recount tonight, it's a much, much bigger story. And without the funding and everything behind, none of this would be possible. So thank you to everybody. And thank you, Dave, to you and Sarah for making tonight happen as well. And Rocky and Airborne Logic, who aren't here, thanking to them as well.
Yeah, last but not least, Rocky, bloody legend, mate. We love your work and you've been well on the ground there for a long time doing some fantastic stuff. And there are some other things you're working on in the background, which we won't say too much about right now, but you're in touch with some very, very special people on the ground. And we just all thank you for everything you've done for these beautiful horses down there, fighting the good fight. And yeah, let's go. Let's keep moving. Anything we can do to help, please reach out to me. I'll get it out across all platforms. And we just thank you for standing in front of these horses and protecting them as best you can. You have our full support, folks.
Thanks heaps, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Guys. Appreciate you all. Over and out.